Hey guys, this is obviously a pretty informal discussion or lecture, if you like, or whatever you want to call it, on just some discoveries that I wanted to share with people in respect of my work that I've been doing around the Philosopher's Stone and the Magic series that's coming up in the next month or so, or a couple of months, and just something that's real exciting that I wanted to share with you. Listening to some various speakers. I think it's Dumwello Markievicz or something like that. I can't remember his name. That doesn't mean that he doesn't give any credibility to what he says just because I can't pronounce his name. But really what I wanted to talk about is how we can all tap into free energy and how we can free ourselves, free your mind, by reducing some of the demands that are put on us by the energy companies. And effectively, if you spend a third of your life working to pay your energy bills, well, that's a third of your life back just off the bat. And really, I suppose, whether you want to call it a conspiracy theory or whatever, the idea of people taking away your freedoms for the purpose of having control of you and taking advantage of you. Really, as much as you might blame people like the elites, the Illuminati, the Bilderberg Group, all those sorts of people, it's really about strengthening yourself and become strong enough to actually stand up for yourself and actually take control of your own life. So, yes, you can sit there and bitch and moan that, these guys are controlling the world and, we can't do this and on, it's the Freemasons and all this sort of thing. But essentially, it's just a mechanism that is there on this planet, specifically in these dimensions, to encourage you with courage to break out of that cell, if you like. These guys are just vehicles. Everything that happens to you is 50-50. If you have a car accident or whatever, it's 50% one person's destiny, it's 50% or fate, and another person's 50% fate. It's never anyone's fault. So in this sense here, this is your fate, and the idea is to overcome your fate. So I just really want to talk about just some of the discoveries I've made in respect of harnessing free energy. And I read a lot, I watch a lot, listen a lot, and try and put all those pieces together, because I believe that there has been a conscious effort to subjugate all of these different parts so that what we're actually dealing with here is very powerful. And I've sort of stuck my head out of the veil a couple of times in my life and seen the power. And to be honest, it's been very scary and very unnerving, if you like. But I think as we evolve, we are getting to that point where we can handle that now. One of the things that's very dangerous about this is that if your ego gets a hold of it and thinks that you are the power, or it is the power, that can certainly be self-destructive and a negative spiral. So it's really about opening yourself up to higher beings, higher forces, God, whoever you want to call it, and actually allowing that energy to come through from there, not from here. And then moving your head to your heart. So thinking with your heart and feeling and moving with your heart. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, I just got a little friend coming, a little fantail. Hello. Yeah, good to see you. And so they're messages. They're messages to tell us about things. And a little birdie told me, is the old saying. Anyway, that's just by the by. So what I wanted to talk today about is this thing here. This has been around for centuries and a lot longer than a lot of modern day science. And it looks great on a necklace, it looks great on a ring or a bangle or on a t-shirt. But there's a hell of a lot more to it than that. And I might have explained some of my other series with the Philosopher's Stone that this is actually representative of a toroidal field. Not just a toroidal field, but everything in nature is a toroid. And that includes atoms. And it's really reflects the second code of Hermes Trismegistus or Thoth, which is that the law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. So from the microcosm to the macrocosm, so from the smallest part even smaller is the atom, or even smaller than the atom is the components of the atom, such as the electron, the neutron, and the proton, but also to the greatest size things such as black holes. It's all the same. And that's really important. And it's also worth taking into consideration the principle of fractals and fractality. So again, as above, so below. So this is obviously in a two-dimensional slice of a toroidal field and an atomic structure. So what I wanted to do is extrapolate on that, and I used to try and visualize how this would work in 3D, be able to create it in 3D. So of course you've got the black flowing into the larger black and the white flowing into the larger white and the smaller of the two. But if I'm honest, it's a bit of a mindfuck trying to actually visualize that and visualize it in form. And the reason you can't visualize in form is because it's in flow. It's in flux. It's moving all the time. Atoms don't sit. Don't sit still. Even the nucleus that we're going to talk about is not standing still. The electrons are not standing still. Everything is moving all the time. Everything is in motion. This is why it's really important that we keep moving, forward, that we keep evolving, because it's a rolling stone that gathers no moss, so to speak. So I'm going to represent or draw this as it would in a three-dimensional space, and it's three-dimensional, four-dimensional, all the multi-dimensions. So just bear with me on that, but what I'd like you to consider also is that just imagine, and I, Magi, nation, becoming a magician, is essential that you use your imagination, is that this is turned this way. So then we actually are looking down through this hole and coming out that hole. So that's really important for starters. This other part of it is representing the flow, and we'll talk about electrons, protons, and neutrons. So this is the flow. This is the path, if you like. So if you were to drive along here, you would have two forces essentially. One would be centrifugal, which would be where you're spinning outwards, and then centripetal is where you're spinning inwards. Now that's really important, understanding the flow of atoms, the flow of electrons, and protons within atoms. Okay, so let's try and represent that. Now the other thing that's really important to understand is that everything in nature comes from pi. Okay, so the golden mean, if you like. So the golden mean is 1 to 618. So anyway, I'm gonna show you what that is. So we're gonna look at the Fibonacci. So from here we start with a rectangle. Okay, now the first thing with this is that this is very square and structured. So it's actually a rectangle, but it's square and structured in the sense that it's the male aspect, it's the left brain, it's the logic, it's the reason, rationale, it's all those things. So within nature, another one of Hermes Trismegistus' laws is actually the law of gender. So as we have a female aspect or a male aspect, in this case we also have the female, and you notice that I drew it moving to the left. So now if we then take this and we move to the right, we then get a Fibonacci spiral. Sorry, I didn't quite draw that properly, but you get the picture. So the Fibonacci spiral, and that is, in this case, sorry, I did it wrong way, doesn't really matter. That's moving out. Okay, so it's spiraling out to the right. Now this is not a hard and fast rule because there are exceptions to that rule, but where there are exceptions to rule, there's just got to be balance within the universe. So excuse me, gotta have my coffee. Okay, so that's important to keep in mind. So you have fractals, as above, so below. You have the golden mean ratio. Okay, so the golden mean ratio is 1 to 1,618, da 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 da. Okay, so that's that ratio there of 1 to 1,618. Mathematics is what everything is, and that's another story. So you have your fractals, you have your golden mean, you have the two forces, main forces in the universe, which are magnetic and dielectric. And some would say there's three, and yes, there is three. And the third one is electric. Okay, so they make up those three forces. Then, as I said before, everything is in flow. You have the as above, so below, the golden mean, or the Fibonacci spiral, which is what this is, and those forces. So what's this got to do with the yin-yang? What's it got to do with the universe? Everything. Now, just another thing that you might hear is that people say, well, there's no straight lines in nature. Well, I'm sorry, but a crystal has got very straight lines in it. Okay. Which leads me on to another point, that this is a form. Okay. Everything that's a form has, as a metaphysical correlation, a field. Now we're going to look at form and field within the atomic structure and how this actually manifests. But just keep that in mind, that whenever you create form, you also create a field. So again, we come back to this idea of as above, so below. And another point within nature is a Hermes Trismegistus code, which is all is vibration. So we have this idea of this wave. In this case, this is a sine wave. And so if you like, it starts at 0. This is 180. This is 360. And then we go back to here, if you like, again. So we're coming from here, negative 180 and negative 360, and we do a full circle, which is the figure 8. Again, which is really important. This is the sign of infinity, of course. Now, when you're looking at a wave and all its vibration and frequency, the wave looks like this. Now, if we take the principle of as above, so below, and we were to say put a line through it here as being what we're now recognizing within science is called the elliptic. So this is, if you like, within the movement of the sun as it moves through the seasons on the planet. So in here you have the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And as the sun moves through its different seasons, now it gets a bit confusing because it's northern and southern hemisphere. But this isn't a wave. This is actually three-dimensional. Now we know that because if we look at the motion of the planets and the sun and the planets around the sun, we actually see that if this is the sun and the planets say this is Earth, although it looks like it's just from the side view, looking like it's going up and down, it's not. It's actually spiraling. Now, everything in the universe is a spiral, and it's not just any spiral, it's the Fibonacci spiral. So when we're looking at this and we see maybe Mercury is a bit faster. Sorry, shit drawing. And then we've got another planet, say like a very slow, large planet, like Saturn, Uranus, or Neptune. Those cycles are a lot longer. And of course, all of this from here to here governs time. So obviously as the Earth moves around the sun, comes back to its start point, of course that's a day. And you could look at this as being day and night, day and night, day and night. You can look at this in the reincarnation side of things, or life, as this is us living, and this is us dying, if you like, or dead. We're not really dead. Yeah, that's a little bit of a, yeah, anyway. So we live, we're born, we get to our peak, we start degrading to the point where we die. As above, so below. We're then reborn again, and we start again. The thing is in nature and within spirals is, again, spirals are not two-dimensional. They're three-dimensional at best. So when we're actually looking at a spiral like this, it's not just spiraling flat. It's like this, like a spring. So people often use the term, oh, I'm back to square one. Well, they're never back to square one, because if, for example, you lived in a town and you returned to the town, for example, I lived around the mountain when I was younger and I came back to the mountain, I'm certainly not back at square one. Not back at this point again and say this is zero. Because you never can be. Because I'm not looking at things through the same eyes. I've got a different perspective and take on things. And that's really important, that I've learned all of this stuff. Some of it's been negative with life experiences. Some of it's been positive. I've come back with a whole new set of eyes. My ego, if you like, the eye. And so you never come back to square one. So that's really important too, that you see that just as this is spiraling this way, it's actually a three-dimensional spiral. And that's really important when it comes to nature. And we're going to look at that. Okay, so there are 7 codes. Hermes Trismegistus. So there is also not just the code of gender, there is the code of vibration. Yeah, there are mind is the first one. So all is mind. Everything comes from mind first. This is the I imagination. A magician always visualizes something before they achieve it. You always have a thought first before you actually put something into action. So that's really important to understand. But what I really want to focus on today is how we can take these ideas and actually create free energy. So if you don't see me after this, and this gets out on YouTube and they decide to take me out, because that's what they do with people, it doesn't matter, because I'll just see you on the other side. I'll still be teaching from the other side, because I obviously believe in reincarnation. So anyway, let's have a look at the atom for starters. Now, first thing I want to talk about with the atom, same thing, Adam and Eve, check it out, is that the traditional model, try and use different colors, of an atom is not the way it really is. So I should use the proper colors actually. So let's say red is the positive, green is the negative. So red is the proton. Actually, I did have that right, sorry. Red is the proton. Oh my God, I made a mistake. Green is the electron. And let's make blue the neutron. So this neutron, red proton, proton. This is the electron. Okay. Now, traditionally, science would say that this is the nucleus of an atom, and these electrons buzz around. and that is your atom. But how do we know that this isn't right? Or how do we know this is right? Or how does this actually work? If the electron never contacts with the proton or the neutron, then what the fuck is it doing? So that's not right for a start. Now, if we base it on that everything in nature is the same as above, so below, and then we look that everything is a toroidal field, then surely, as I'm standing here, this atom is a toroidal field. This is a toroidal field. This is that. So let's just revisit this. Now, one of the things that scientists are now starting to say or realize is that these things in the middle, these neutrons and these protons, they could actually be fields. They're not actually physical structures. So they are saying that this is some sort of physical construct, the electron, but the proton, the neutron, they're not really sure on. And this would also make sense to explain why it is that science has only ever seen this outside of the nucleus and hasn't seen this. And I'm going to go into that because that is the key to free energy. So, one thing that we need to really pay respect to and see how he covered this in his work is Nikola Tesla. Now, Nikola Tesla was a genius. In fact, I wouldn't be talking to you today if it wasn't through Nikola Tesla. One of the things that he did in regards to his work was he created something called the Wardenclyffe Tower. Now, the Wardenclyffe Tower, and excuse me if I got that pronunciation wrong, when you look at it, what he was going to do with that, was he said to JP Morgan, I can actually tap energy out of the air and turn it into electricity. And JP Morgan was very excited about this, and he'd funded him to the point where Tesla had then said, actually, we can create this and we can give free energy to the world. And that's when JP Morgan didn't like that idea because there was nothing in it for him. There was no profit. So straight away, he took away not only Tesla's funding, but bankrupted him, and he died in a hotel room, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's another story. But his Wardenclyffe Tower, if you look it up on the internet, there's a building like this, and then above it is this, and then around it, sitting on top of that, is this. So, what does that mean? Well, if you want to be wise, keep asking questions. The more wise you ask, the wiser you become. And I'm not saying I'm wise, but some stuff just makes sense. So, what do we got here? Well, this, from my perspective, is a toroid, or a torus. Sorry, I do torus. I have trouble spelling that shit. That's a torus. What's this? This is a vortex. You say, well, it's just a physical structure. Now remember, we go back to the idea that form equals F-I-E-L-D. Anything that has form has a field. As above, so below. As within, so without. Everything physical has a metaphysical component to it. So form is physical, field is metaphysical. There's also a challenge that was put out, which I can't remember who said it. When we can make a link between quantum physics and relativity, we've got the key. Now this is the link, the physical and the metaphysical. That is the link between quantum mechanics and relativity. Now just to put things into context, Einstein had a lot of theories. One of them was the theory of relativity. But he never really made anything. Tesla physically made this. Okay, so let's first of all look at this as a torus or toroidal field. Okay, so let's start with a neutron. So what is the neutron? Well, the neutron is actually, it's a 0 point. Okay, I won't write it there, but what's called the 0 point. Why? Because it's negative. Because it's not negative. Sorry, it's neutral. It's not negative or positive. Obviously, the electrons are negative and the protons positive. Okay. Now, so that's the neutron. Jimmy Neutron. Then we have the proton. Damn, I've written that in red. Should have done it in blue. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. You have to apply some of your own thinking for this. So, yep. Then we have the proton. So the proton sits, as scientists will tell you, in here as well. Proton, I think it is. Proton. God, I write about this stuff all the time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't materialize. It doesn't manifest into anything physical. It doesn't matter, although this will. Whether you spell it that way or not, spelling's a different kettle of fish. But for this, you know what I'm talking about. So the proton supposedly sits in the middle and just hums away there doing its own thing, and we're not sure whether it's a field or it's a metaphysical, whether it's form or whether it's field. And then you have the electron. Now, this is where it gets cool and groovy, because what's actually happening, if we look at the yin-yang, is actually, I'm going to do this construct. Okay, so just to give us a framework. And then, is it? You know what's all interesting about this? What does that look like? It's a mushroom cloud. It's a nuclear explosion. What happens with a nuclear explosion? If you're on the outside of it, and as it goes in, it sucks up everything, and then it blows it back. You ever seen the video that they did of tests, and I think they were in the Nevada desert, where they actually had buildings there and trees, and the trees went whoosh towards the center, and then whoosh back the other way. This is very significant. So this is also what happens when you fuck around with atoms. You cause a nuclear explosion or a fusion or a... anyway. Okay, so the atom. So let's have a look at this. So let's just imagine, and we will do the colors here. So the electron. So the electron comes out of the proton, spirals out, comes around, and spirals back in. Something like that. So this is the electron, oh sorry, I'll do it from this way. This is the electron coming out, spirals out of here, comes up, spirals back into here, and then goes through the center point, through the 0 point, which is the neutron. Okay, so neutron's sitting in here. That's right, neutron is blue. I'm hopeless. Then what happens is, as the electron comes into the neutron, it changes. Now, I can't remember off the top of my head something about thermodynamics, but what's interesting is that if you're talking in the field of thermodynamics, what happens at this point in a black hole? Same thing, as above, so below. Atom, black hole, same deal. An atom is a mini black hole. What happens here is that through thermodynamics, the temperature of that then changes. What happens at this point is the electron, this is the interesting part, changes into a proton. So then, as it's coming through here, the proton spins the opposite way. Now I just want to get this right. It does this. Or lo and behold, sorry, that's a really shit drawing, but basically what you've got here is the electron that's even worse, is the proton. But what we're talking about here is the infinity sign. This is the infinity, because what happens is once the proton spins out, it comes back through the nucleus. Now this is called the event horizon. So the reason that scientists cannot understand or explain where the proton is because it becomes metaphysical. And this is why we have a physical and a metaphysical counterpart to everything. Because atomically speaking, that's what it is. In the physical sense, we look at the magnetic. This is visible. This is the electron. Okay, so this is visible. I'll do it another color. Hopeless with these colors. Oh, I didn't practice. And this is invisible. Now, I'm not saying that these scientists didn't know this and they just didn't tell anyone. I would suspect that a lot of Tesla's patents that he put into the patent office that were acquired by General Electric, that they actually knew this, because Tesla, being the smart man he was, somehow knew this information. Now, where do we get this information from now, not apart from Tesla? Is we look back into the ancient past. Okay, and then we begin to understand this. We look up to the heavens and we look down to the earth. So, we now have this construct. This is the field. Hang on, just find another. Of the atom. Now, the other thing you've got to remember is that the atom is just not sitting there doing that. And it's not in its own isolation. Everything is connected. So, although the atom looks like it's just doing this, in effect, what it's also doing at the same time out of these two ports, as this energy comes out, it's actually doing this. There is a vortex. Which is this. And then it's coming into here, going through the 0 point. It's changing, coming out, coming back in, and so on and so on. And as it's coming out of here, bear with me, there is a vortex coming out here that we can't see because it's metaphysical. Now, what's significant here is I didn't even think about this, but you're using the blue and the red idea. Now, the blue and red is very symbolic of a lot of different things, male and female energies. Yeah, look it up. Blue and red, the monarchy and the politicians who wrote about it. Even in Black Dove, there was in my novel there was the monarchy who was Godigo wanted to become a politician, so you had the red and the blue. Probably an influence that's helping me in this is my engagement in Freemasonry, and you start in the blue lodge, then you go to the red lodge. So again, you've got the blue, which is the foundation, and the red, which is then the dealing with the metaphysical side of it. And you can read all about it, so I'm not telling you any secrets or anything like that. Okay, but anyway, getting back to this and creating this. This is your free energy device. You can make it as big as you want or as small as you want. The only rule is, if you want to be successful with it, is to follow the ratios of the golden mean. Okay? That's the key. Because what you are doing, with this form in a field is, if you simulate the form, you simulate the field, or you create the field. So if you want to, how can I say, if you want to recreate something, creation being the key word, then by creating the form, you create the field. So Marco Rodin was on the right track when he created the Rodin coil. The only thing that I don't believe that he was actually aware of was that to make it really efficient and effective, to draw in that subatomic energy, or subatomic energy, is you have to create this in the same form as an atom. So we go back to the idea of the golden mean. So when you're actually creating this toroidal field, for example, if you're looking down from above, a bit hard to see, but if you're looking down and it's coming in here and then it's going into the center, that's your first clue. So that is your golden mean. Okay, so all of these represent the golden mean, 1 to 1.618, or 618. So that's the first thing that you need to do, is you need to create that in the same form as the golden mean. Now that's only two-dimensional. So what we're looking at here is, from this point, is this here. So this is that, that is that, that is that. So all of these are within the golden mean. That way. But also within the golden mean this way. This is where I believe people who've been trying to simulate free energy through different mechanisms haven't quite understood this principle. Maybe there might be some people out there who've gotten onto that. The Earth has a conscious grid around it. So if I'm thinking this way, then there will be other people who are thinking this way as well. And this is the beauty of the conscious movement. When I put this out to you and you start thinking this way, you add to that conscious grid, especially if you're going, yeah, or ah. Remember aha. Ah, crown chakra. Aha. 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 This is the light bulb going on. Boom, above you. This is the 1,000-petaled lotus that opens up when you make that connection with the rest of the conscious grid. Okay? So that's the crown chakra. You see it through the third eye chakra. The symbol for that is the figure 8. Jesus, anyway. That's another story. So, if we then look at, for starters, the way this is coming in, golden mean. That spiral has got to be the golden mean, coming to the 0 point, to the event horizon. The next thing that we need to be conscious of is, how do we get that energy out? Now, another interesting point about the construct, the physical form, and the construct of the physical form is atoms don't operate in isolation. So you've got to think of these things operating in a 3D construct, 3D, 4D, 5D. So not just a 2D. So, for example, running out of board space, but if I say here, so let's just simplify it by saying that's an atom. Now, of course, the atom is then, the vortex is coming out like this. Now, something else that's really significant about this is that the universe operates by compression and expansion. Okay, so compression, this is at tension, torus, torque, tension. It's in tension, just play on these words a little bit. And this is extension. A tension, even looks like an A. intention, 0 point, extension, release. Okay, so extension, intention, attention. Now we can even see that in our breathing. If we were to stand here like this and we were to breathe in, so we're bringing in, we're putting the air into tension. It's attention, it's intention, and as we fill our abdomen, it's extension. When we compress our abdomen to breathe out, it goes into attention, intention, extension, attention, intention, extension. We're doing it all the time. Attention, intention, extension. This way. Okay? Now, that's really important because that is what that is. So that is where we're putting it into attention. When it's intention, this is also the way we manifest. So we put our attention on something with our intention and then let it go and it extends. Okay, so this is really important too. So, getting back to how do we ascertain or gain free energy out of the air? Because these atoms are everywhere. Now, sorry, I'll go back to what was happening here. So, of course, this becomes extension. At this point, it compresses again into the atom. And so we have this idea of this. Now, you would say, well, hang on a second. You're telling me that the atom's only expressing in a lateral thing. So, north and south, east and west. How is it that if you've got a 4-dimensional or 3-dimensional construct, that it is, say like you've got another one atom over here, another one over here, you got one here in the front, and you've got this here, and we're making a cube. What are we doing here? Some shit like this. So we've got a cube going on here. How is it that this can connect with that and that can connect with that? Because they're spinning. They are spinning. So if you look at a pulsar star, the only time we see the pulsar, we would see it all the time, but it's because it's spinning. So we only get to see the pulsation of the pulsar when it's facing us. It's a bit like a flashlight. As it turns away from us, it's pulsing again, but we don't see that. They call these neutron stars, by the way. Well, fuck me dead. Neutron, negative, neutron, pulsing out energy. Sucking in energy, pulsing it out. Sucking it in, pulsing it out. Sucking it in, pulsing it out. Jesus, this shit all connects together. So, here, these are rotating. So we have this. Extension, attention. Extension, attention. And we're sharing. So, as this is sending out electrons, because everything in nature is equilibrium. Everything has to be in balance, in harmony. It's sucking in, it's spitting out and sucking in protons. So again, we have this, everywhere is spirals, everywhere is waves. They aren't waves, they're spirals. They aren't waves, you know what I mean? So, getting back to this, if you want to create this, I suggest you go forth and create it. There are YouTube clips on how to create a Rodin coil, and you can build a simple, well, so simple, it's mathematical. You can build a disc shape, but the key thing is they look something like this for your winding. So you would have like this, and then you would cut out these notches, and you would feed the copper wire through it. So the copper wire would come into here, so you would feed it like this, something like this, and it would go in. I challenge you, and also with this, to make this, but keep in mind that it has to replicate the golden mean spiral and the Fibonacci, the golden mean mathematics. So for example, if you're creating, you need to create a replica of the Whiting Cliff Tower, basically. But you need to make sure that when you create it, that the width between here and the height between here both meet the golden mean. When you create this, looking down, Again, this is the golden mean between here and here. As it starts spiraling in, this is the golden mean. Spirals again, this is the golden mean. And not only that, as it's spiraling in this way, that's the golden mean, that's the golden mean, that's the golden mean. And once you start, or once you capture the form of an atom, like attracts like, universal law, atoms are going to love this. And they're going to go, woohoo! And they're going to spin in here, and out there, they're going to produce electricity. Now, I can't tell you how to tap into that at the moment. But I would say that if you were to tap into that, just thinking logically, you would then create a reverse device of this that would pick up on those protons, convert them into electrons, which would then get your flow going, which is the flow between magnetic, visible, and dielectric, because as it's flowing in, it's also flowing out. And there's your answer to free electricity, right there. Go forth and produce power.